Hi everyone, Ronald Ingram here, your rebel banker futurist, broadcasting live on YouTube and X from the Nevada high desert, looking down on the Luxor pyramid. Some things have been hitting harder than others lately, so I thought I would share feedback that I've been getting from recent events. And also, I just want to, when talking to people, sometimes you get, I'm coding, I'm not really, I'm not really interacting with that many people that often directly face to face, and a lot of Zoom just doesn't quite do it, right? Even this doesn't quite do it. So I realized something when I was talking to people. I guess I don't want to just have to say it, right? I'm the only futurist to own a bank in America, and I'm the only banker or bank owner to launch a crypto in America. Why? I've told you why many times, but just those two statements. Well, not the first one, but the second one, that I'm the only banker in America. I'm the only banker in America to launch a crypto. And I think there'll be more, and then I'll just be the first. But that's meaningful, isn't it? And I guess I take it for granted because you don't really think about it about yourself that much. And but that when everything makes sense about crypto, and the only thing holding people back is trust, that has a big impact. So it's something to maybe think about when you're talking to people. Maybe you've already included into that. Maybe that's why you're here already. I don't know. And for some people, it might be a turn off, right? And that's why it's important to note that I'm, as you all know by now, if you've tuned in before, not your typical banker. I'm a creator, an innovator, an inventor, a rebel banker, and a futurist. So that has some clout, I guess. And also, there's an encyclopedia article about me, right? The largest encyclopedia in the world is now Grokpedia, and there's 8 pages written there about me. I didn't write them. So that gives people comfort as well, that they can check things out. I'm the only fully doxed. Maybe maybe there is another banker out there somewhere that has launched a crypto, and they just haven't told any about it. So maybe I should say I'm the only fully doxed banker that's launched a crypto. And the reason I can do that is because March 17th gave me the confidence and the courage to put my name, fully doxed, on a crypto project, and did it carefully. Published a light paper in advance, made sure that all the terms were fair, went out of my way to make sure that we did everything the right way. And so the totally fair, transparent launch from the outset. So I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of everything that we've done since then, including that we haven't had to, and even had the time to, really. So, but also haven't had the right, for whatever reasons, there's a number of them. We haven't spent any money on marketing yet. We haven't. Everything that we've achieved so far is purely through word of mouth and through social media and through the platforms. So we haven't hired a single paid shill. We haven't paid anybody we We haven't worked with any market makers. And this is something I wanted to bring up. Somebody was asking me about our liquidity. And especially with earlier stage and smaller tokens like ours, I was surprised about this. And I can provide sources if anyone doubts this. Let me know, and I'll share the sources with you. But 95% of the early coin projects, especially meme coins, of course, and the AI. There's going to be a lot of AI tokens and coins out there, and a lot of these early stage ones. 95% of their liquidity is inflated through rather inauthentic means. So hiring market makers and manipulating prices, those kinds of things are going to get people into trouble in this new market. So we've got clarity, we've got a lot of freedom, a lot of latitude to innovate and create now. But there are, and part of that is because, and for legitimate folks, it's even if you're a risk taker, you like to know you want to know what the boundaries are, right? So that you don't step outside of them and get not only yourself in trouble, but other people that you're working with in trouble, right? So we know where the lines are and we stay within them. So, and that became easy to do. March 17th I had enough clarity at that point with the CFTC and SEC guidelines that came out, the directive that was published by the SEC and the CFTC, clearly stating that their position on crypto assets and the federal securities laws, and what is a crypto asset, and what crypto assets are not securities, and we are not a security, and what a digital commodity is, and that is what we are. We are a digital commodity. We are also a meme plus utility token, and that's more descriptive now. The legal category that we fall into now is that of a digital asset. And so that became really very, very clear with this document that was published by the government that was published by the SEC and CFTC on April 28th, as I've mentioned many times. And then we have the Genius Act before that, and we have the Clarity Act coming up. And then yesterday, we had the president put out the executive order further directing regulators to cooperate and remove obstacles from those that are aiming to innovate and create in the crypto space. So all of these things, and the new chairman of the Federal Reserve incoming, all of these things give me great confidence and growing confidence to be able to share this more broadly. And so because of that, I mentioned that I was going to start communicating this project and offering Spock through my executive networks. And I began doing that. So two things I wanted to, I've skipped ahead. Two things I wanted to mention. So the fact that I'm the only banker in America to launch a crypto token is one thing that seemed to have a big impact when I've been with people. And the second thing was, and I try to explain, our new improved alternative to traditional credit scoring, the Ingram evaluation matrix, brain for AI models, explainable to make AI explainable, machine-to-machine commerce, and it was. So finally, what I did is I just whipped out my phone, right, and shared with people the chart, and that's was that was, I said, so does this explain it? And they said, wow, yeah, that explains it a lot, right? So where can I sign up, literally? So I have a lot of follow-up meetings anticipated from that event. And then oh yeah, here's a bit of good news too. Just I'm looking at this. As I'm looking at the screen, you'll notice it used to have a bright yellow bar there that would say this token is not displayed because we believe it to be spam. So those who are used to crypto are, that doesn't really faze them, right? But for newbies, it was kind of I did get a few questions like, why is that? It's like, we trust you. Why does your wallet say that this coin may be a scam? And so two things came out of that. First off, someone pointed out, so I don't need always, I love the positive feedback, right? I love that the best. But I also don't mind challenging questions. You see, I will take on anything you throw at me in the comments. Please do, and I will answer all questions. And I'm pleased to do that. And in fact, because sometimes it surfaces things that I might not have really thought of. So someone on Soulflare, or maybe on Pump Fund, I think in different platforms, you can see how visually how using bubble charts how wallets are interlinked. And I think that there might have been an impression that I controlled a whole bunch of wallets because of our sharing is caring program, which, by the way, I'm expanding. The sharing and caring program is basically a program where people that I know I'm aligned with, friends or family, people that I know and that know me and that I know already know what I'm about and we're in alignment, I would give them for opening as an extra incentive for them to open their first crypto wallet in many cases, and to make sure that also, as a safety precaution, to make sure they got the right token because of copycats that are out there, I would send them a small bag of crypto, of Spock, right? And so what that means is there's a whole bunch of little bags that have gone out from the dev wallet. And so that might give an impression. This is why sometimes charts and infographics can be deceiving. Data does lie sometimes. So yes, I have they're given lots of little amounts out to people, and so those wallets may show up as linked to me in some way. Although these are completely independent people that I don't know what their plans are and what they're going to do. I certainly don't control their wallet because I gave them a token, a few tokens. So but here's another thing that an unanticipated thing is somebody thought, bless their heart, that they were supposed to pay it forward, right? So the tokens that I gave them, they went out and they gave their tokens to other people because for the same reason that I gave my tokens to them, they had people that I don't know that they care about, that they want to be educated in crypto, and the best way to be educated in crypto is to try it, right? So that had another ripple effect, but hence it may appear that there's other pockets of linked wallets. So the liquidity is actually more distributed than it might appear. So I explained that to one of the wallets, Phantom. I explained that to Phantom, and they have removed that warning now from wallets. So that's a nice another all these little incremental bits of progress that we have, like CMC being listed on CMC, and CoinGecko has actually been, I was more impressed with, and CoinGecko is every bit as good, and if not better, CMC. Maybe everyone has their own opinion, but here's another thing that I found out while we're tooting our horns here. So 11,984.41%. The disclaimer: historical results do not predict future results, and I'm not an investment advisor, and this is not a security. So, however, that is a historical fact now, right? So that and a pretty powerful one that I see is something that I need to be even more proud of and share more often. And here's another thing another opportunity for us to share that I missed is that without my knowing it, we've many times been in the top 10, sometimes the number 1 performing crypto on CoinGecko, but we weren't listed for maybe because of the warnings or whatever. But with those like I think CoinGecko, I don't think they show us. Everybody does their calculations differently. I don't think they show 11,000%. They show like 2,000% or something like that over the last 30 days. But that is also a pretty good number, and that has in many cases, from several times now, we've been in there amongst the very top performing crypto tokens in the country, in the world. So that's pretty cool, right? And also when there are no market makers, there's no manipulation, and this is asked constantly. I'm aggressively pushed on many occasions, and but this is, we're very, very cautious about that. We don't even have everybody, the humans that are working are volunteers. So Chad, thank you. Rain, thank you. Kiki, thank you. And so they're doing a lot, and appreciate their effort. And they're doing it because they like to see their tokens go up, and they're all Spock holders. And I had people that wanted to be moderators, and very early on I said, if you don't hold Spock, don't even pitch me anything ever. So everybody that is doing this and supporting us is doing it for the right reasons. Now, so because I was going to start marketing on or communicating a little bit more openly with the 1,200 or so C-level executives, CIOs and CEOs and managers that as well that follow me on LinkedIn. And so I was going to do that later in the week, towards the end, like on Friday. But with the executive order that came out yesterday, I wanted to get that out fast. So I'll be doing more, but I did an initial little article that I pushed out there last night, I think, and later in the day yesterday. And I already got a comment back right away from one executive who I happened to be meeting with on another matter, but he was early days with Spock, and I told him about it, and he's an executive at SoFi, and he posted a really nice comment. I'm going to read it to you. He says, Ron has developed something special. When he told me about his new Spock coin, I immediately purchased 1.73 million coin for $100. 30 days later, and I'm up 14,113%. No joke. Ron turned my $100 investment into $12,300. I bought more a week ago, and that transaction is up 10%. So don't wait too long. Those are his exact words. So I responded back for everybody to see. I said, Philip's got it right. Early conviction in Spock is paying off exactly because this is real infrastructure, not another meme play. Spock is the settlement fuel for agentic banking, sub-second machine-to-machine payments, the X402 protocol. We got to do a deeper dive into that sometime. That's so amazing what we're going to be able to do with X402, and that's built in and part of our patent too. X402, you can't patent that specific protocol, of course, because that has been around for 30 plus years, since the beginning of the internet. And the MBC 20 hybrid utility built for autonomous systems that need deterministic high duration transactions. Brock is the face, your personal patent pending Ingram evaluation matrix powered banker that actually moves money at scale with explainable decisions. Neoscore locks in the trust layer. And I go on. The 14,000% is the market starting to price in what we're shipping. The next leg comes from real usage, humans and machines, onboarding the full stack. Appreciate you putting skin in the game and telling the story straight. Light paper and details live at neobanks.com. So that's out there for, but a group of people that I don't know what'll happen. You know, they're very, probably 1% of them hold any crypto at all, but we're seeing tremendous inroads, and they all know me as a disruptor and an innovator. So so we'll see what happens there. And I've also put out the sharing is caring program to them. And so for them, as well as for anybody here, anybody that you know, basically the program is going to be, or is now, if you subscribe, get a paid subscription on Substack, to my Substack, or you buy a book, or you tip me. I don't know if that functionality is still operational on X right now or not. But anyway, the two better ways are just to do a paid subscription on Substack. There's some value there too, and or buy my book on Amazon.com. And it doesn't matter whether it's a soft cover, the hard cover, or the ebook. I really like to have paper versions of things that are worth having, and about half of that book is a glossary of terms, which I think that's an important part of the book to me, because bankers, experts, lay people, a lot of times people that don't know what they're talking about use big words and don't even know what they mean, or use acronyms and just use the lingo and they don't even know what the words mean. And so it's very important to understand meanings. When you understand, like if you get one letter wrong in code in an API and the whole thing breaks, it's amazing how delicate it is, right? We're not quite that fragile, but there's a lot. Human communication, there's a lot that gets lost. So many things are lost in translation between humans. So anyway, if you do that and then send an email to me with your wallet, with your public key, your Solana wallet, Soulflare or Phantom, and introduce yourself. Just tell me what, and include the receipt so I know who it is and why, and then I will send you a small bag of Spock. And I think on Telegram I actually laid out the instructions. So basically the exact same instructions, the exact same offer that I'm making to the executive community, I'm making to anybody here or anybody that you know, and that there's a PDF that I created that can be shared. Can't post PDFs on X, so but I posted the article on X, and I believe, and it's on Substack, and there's a PDF on Telegram that you can find on the Telegram group. So Yeah, so we have come a long ways with, 2 websites, 2 new patents. This all in the last 45 days. Numerous papers. Second version of the lite paper is on the new corporate website. We launched 2 websites. The first, roningram.me/Spock website, and then the corporate neobanks site. And now we're deep in coding Brock. And our goal is to get to 12 million by the end of the month, and a very aggressive goal, I realize, of 100 million by July 24th, only 2 months away. And by the end of the year, $1 per Spock. And so what do we have to do that? Well, the next main things that are going to happen. So there are going to be, so it's not like there's a lot going on between now and July 24th to get all of this working. And then also I'll be continuing to do events. I've got more Nevada startup events and all kinds of things that I haven't really tapped into. But the next big thing is I'm going to really focus on a program that I've been working on for Tim Scott's office for the Senate Banking Committee. Obviously, that's important, right? So I've really gotta get to that, and also, there's the at the same time, I need to continue communicating with everybody. So I'm doing that, and I'm getting faster and faster through automation. So I've said that our goal, and part of how we get to 100 million, is by getting our FTEP count up to over 100 people equivalents, FTEPs. So right now we're at about 13. But including real people, maybe 15. But the problem is I need about double. No, not double, but I'm still short. So we're just because it's not a problem though. We have everything that we need, and we will. I'm very confident that we will accelerate the process, keep accelerating. I think the next, every day almost I'm accelerating. So every 2 days, 2-day cycles, kind of with new things that I'm doing to automate things. But some things can't be automated, and some things shouldn't be automated. I really need to look people in the eye and sit with them and see their pain as they try to get onboarded. And we keep making inroads on how to make that simpler and simpler for people. But still, one of the good news pieces to this throttling, if you will, is that there's pent up demand still. So you may notice that a lot of the transactions, if you look at the transaction histories, a lot of them tend to be close to 500, just under $500. That's because that is the standard. It seems like I actually saw one that was 300. A Wells Fargo, a private banking customer, was limited to $300 on their debit card because they never used their debit card. But credit cards aren't going through very well for crypto purchases. So but debit cards have been going through fine. So this person who is very affluent, and they were limited by $300. So we keep finding workarounds, and but there's a lot of people that have just sort of accepted the $500 limit, and so that means they put in their $500 and they wait a week, 7 days, Later, they're able to put in another $500 out, and after fees, the fees which are quite egregious too, but people are eating that all. They're eating up they're suffering through all of it in order to get the Spock. That's how much they believe in what we're doing. And ironically, the pain that they experience makes them more determined, because they get kind of angry sometimes, almost, or frustrated that they are being denied access to their money. And sometimes they have a lot and they can't spend $300 on a debit card, or $500 or $1,000. It's just crazy. But also, as they're getting more educated, they're finding new ways. So with ACH, even with ACH, there's limits. And even with ACH, one bank just flat out denied to send the ACH. These are, I should run through all the laws again. Well, you can, I think I published them in one of my posts. Lists out all of the laws that are potentially being violated by banks and credit unions that throttle access. But it's not always the banks either. It's also the intermediaries. And the intermediaries, they certainly want to provide a good customer experience, but they're caught in the middle of having to appease banks that are on the hook to the regulators to make sure that the regulators aren't going to fine them or penalize them in other ways. They have many different ways that they can, if you're the rating that regulators use to score banks, if that falls below a certain threshold due to a subjective criteria, very subjective, far more subjective than the Ingram evaluation matrix. They should use the Ingram evaluation matrix to evaluate banks. But using the current rating system that they have, can be very subjective. And then they can add things in, as all of a sudden they can give a weighting to reputational risk, which Trump, by executive order, said that was no longer allowed. You can't debank somebody, which was something that was happening. People were having their bank accounts closed. Talk about wealthy people like the Trump family, having their banks closed, being debanked because ostensibly, and I don't know if this has been proven. Actually, I think there have been lawsuits filed, so there's evidence, but no proof that could be suggested yet. And I want to be careful what I say, but there's certainly evidence that extensive evidence that just because of some subjectively determined reputational risk, that accounts could be turned away or closed or closed, right? So that is just a prime example of why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I am passionate about self-sovereignty and private, and key part of that is private property rights. And the American free enterprise capitalist system, and especially the financing and the funding system, people complain, and I'm complaining too here a little bit, so I'll stop that. But this is already the best in the world in terms of there's more diversity of banks. There are more banks. In many countries in Canada, you only have 6 major banks, maybe a few more now, but are dominated by a few massive banks that have a monopoly. America, you still have, although all kinds of community banks have been shut down, you still have thousands and thousands of banks. That's very unique. It's almost like the original DeFi, decentralized finance. And if you think of in 1940 or 1843, prior to the National Currency Act and the National Banking Act of Abraham Lincoln and the OCC, you actually had 8,000 currencies. I was talking about that before, right? Now, each bank would have their own currencies, so a bit like crypto. The wildcatting was called a wildcat banking system. So there's tremendous capital to be. So things have been frozen. I think of capital as energy, like water flowing, and a lot of capital has been frozen in this country, and it just needs And if regulations allow that to thaw, then that energy will be released and it will turn the turbines of industry. So that is what I'm all about, and that is freedom, that is free enterprise. And socialism doesn't work. Communism doesn't work. I can't believe that it's even necessary to say that. Probably a lot of you won't, I don't need to say that here. But a lot of people, there's starting to be, those ideas, they are, some of those old ideas are rearing their heads again. And they only work until you run out of people to take money from them. Basically, they're systems of theft, taking from the producers to give to the non-producers. And obviously, the system can't exist under it collapses under its own weight at a certain point. And we were nearing that point, but we've turned that around, and we are with the singularity because of the conversion of technology and the new level of freedoms that are being offered. And whatever you think about the current political regime, we don't talk politics here that much, but the opening of the financial systems, it liberates this frozen capital and puts it back and gets it back into circulation and gets it back into work. We don't need to print more money. We just need to stop the fraud, waste, and abuse. And we need bankers to be able to do what they do best. And that is a big part of what made America great. You wouldn't have Ford, you wouldn't have your household appliances, you wouldn't have any of your inventions, you wouldn't have the air transportation, you wouldn't have any of our modern conveniences if you did not have capital innovation, which was originally the American banking system. The American banking system could do so much more. And crypto may become the new. And I've laid out a platform. In our last talk, I told you how the 4 pillars of banking and how simple they really are. And with technology, if we start with a clean slate, as I have done, these patents provide a framework for a new global banking system, an agentic global banking system that can be highly like Bitcoin itself. It doesn't need to be managed by an army of people. It can be almost entirely autonomous, driven by math, in a trustless digital world without borders. And that is very exciting. And we have to flip the high table, and this group of literally 6 people, plus one, 18 if you max, that sit at this high table that have been dictating monetary policy for 95 years. And America didn't even have a seat at that table, at the high table, until 1994. Alan Greenspan was the first one to have a seat at this high table that control all the central banks in the world. Mark Carney in little tiny Canada has maybe one of the most powerful people in the world. When you look at his history, chairman of 3 committees at the high table, and in Basel, Switzerland, and chairman of the Bank of England, chairman of the Bank of Canada, 2 different countries. Like imagine Powell deciding he's going to be, or Australia deciding to invite Powell, say, hey, you're finished your term in America. Do you want to come down and be our chairman of our banking system? That would be kind of weird, because that is one of the most powerful positions in a nation, is the person who controls that central bank. It doesn't need to be that way, by the way. The system that I have laid out, all the parts, if you put them all together, it gives you a complete agentic global banking system that because all you need to handle are four things. You need, number one, the transactional ability, and we have Bitcoin as likely the future layer one, the settlement layer for large value transactions globally. And then for smaller transactions, you have multiple different crypto, or maybe just Spock. But realistically, we have multiple, because Solana, Spock is built on Solana. Actually, I found a great analogy to explain that to newbies. Think of Solana as like Visa, right? And just like you have when you think of a credit card, people don't really tend to pay that much attention to the brand necessarily. It's more about what rewards they get and what the interest rate is that they pay if it's a credit card. So Visa or MasterCard, whoever, and which bank issues it to them. If they have a relationship at Wells Fargo, they get whatever Wells Fargo's offering, and they get the best version of it if they're top tier client, or they get a low fee version with higher interest rates if they're at a lower tier with that bank. So you could think of all of these different cards as all the banks consider their card a product, their credit card product. And even though it's the rails, Visa own the system, right? So Solana and is like one of the base rails, and is the way I explained it to people. And people really, it's finally a way to explain, well, why do I have to, because people were, why can't I just put my money right into Spock? Why do I have to put it into Solana first? So I explained that it's like, that's the substrate that all of that a number of tokens are, one of the main rails, like Visa is to banks, Solana is to many crypto. And then you have Base and you have Ethereum, and there are other that are like, that's like, you can think of that as like MasterCard, right? And different platforms for different uses. But people don't really care in the end. They really just care about their the faucet level experience. They turn on the water, they expect it to flow. They don't really need to know whether the pipes are PVC or copper or lead. They should know, but hopefully they don't have lead pipes. But not many people. Most people are concerned about whether the water flows or not, especially if they're renting. If they own their house, they might think differently, which is another thing. So the housing thing, as I said, I really need to big opportunity for Spock that I haven't fully explained, and I won't fully explain until that gets into the right, until we're at the right place in that discussion or not. So I'll keep people posted on that at the right time and share what I can when I can on that. But yeah, so it's imperatively important to me to invert the banking system, to put people back in. It's the same thing with Neoscore, put people back in charge of their own data. You should have some say. We should have some say over our own data. Maybe even be compensated for our own data if it's used, and certainly be able to pull it back, and certainly be able to take it with us, so that when we move from one country to another country, we are not starting at zero. Our earned reputation follows us, and we get to monetize that rather than somebody else monetizing that for us. So so lots of incremental little improvements, like I've mentioned, and I'm going to be doing more. I may even do a live stream on LinkedIn, so that'll be interesting, and a whole bunch of other things that I will do. But I really need to stay focused on development so that we ship July 24th, the first version of Brock, that to make it widely available, to be able to be the super genius robo banker available to everyone. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's available to everyone before it's even implemented in a bank. but in a traditional financial institution. But those opportunities are still there too. We've got nothing but opportunities, and we're ahead of the curve, and we are more and more people are talking about things. I just saw somebody posted something on, it was on LinkedIn or X, about how people really need a new type of credit score, and that credit scoring is going to be based on social media and based on your wallet activity. And so I sent a comment back, yep, we've got a patent for that already. So I love it. Finally, I often have been too far ahead. Like with my first AI agent, I was all the pieces of the technology, that parts of it were there. My conversational agent could converse with people in 120 different languages, 24/7, 365 days a year. You have one-on-one conversations with everybody everywhere, and it was quite scalable. But the quality of the conversations were, not what they are today. So we'll be launching. It'll be my first project, BuddhaBot, will be 22 years old on July 24th, 2026, and that'll be the date that its cousin Brock is launched. So also I did a Pump Fun stream again earlier today. Just I don't know, it's been over a month since I'd been on Pump Fun, so I just thought I would drop in there and do a post there. So I'll be doing LinkedIn, and yeah, so we are making great strides, and we will continue to do so. And yeah, and the new funds keep flowing in as people who have been throttled, every week they come in, they're able to put more funds in again. So that gives us some flow there. And don't be too. Our liquidity is pretty high, and just looking at the number. Yeah, I don't have it handy, but volume, yeah, $50,000 a day, and we've got 750 plus holders. So we're gaining in all of these metrics all the time, and so you're still early, as you can tell from the and from our goals. And it's great though to see that some people have made some extraordinary returns, like my friend from SoFi, who reported 14,000% return. So so let your friends and family know, and people that have been taking profits. I get it. I think it's very short-sighted. I would encourage. I haven't sold any. I'm still buying on dips, and I would think, because I can't think of any place else that where I would put my money. I've got enough, Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's not going to grow like this. But I'm not allowed to make forward-looking statements. Well, I don't make forward-looking statements, but that's where we're at. So we're looking really good, and I really appreciate everyone. And please keep the comments coming and the feedback coming, and tell your friends and share and pay it forward and all those great things. Live long and prosper, my friends.